there. So, and
our very famous Christian Lebanese was Danny Thomas.
Yeah.
It was, you know, remember the entertainer Danny Thomas, and he was from Lebanon.
Yes. So as a Christian and as a Catholic, I don't have any requirement binding me to put any scarf or veil. So, so that's why I do not veil.
So how do you get along, you know, the Christians and the Muslims, the Muslims get along together? You know, is there any prejudice, do you feel? That you were both living in Lebanon, was there prejudices against you being a Catholic and you're Muslim?
Not at all.
No, I think when it comes to prejudice, again, back to the media, I was telling you this over lunch. You know, we regular folk, normal folk, we don't sell news. You know, me and Rita being friends is not, you know, 9 o'clock a newscast. This is not something that you'd put on the news. The fact that we're friends, the fact everything is okay.
In fact, you weren't friends before you met. Through the international.
But we became friends, and the fact that we're from different religions was not, you know, something an obstacle for us to be friends. Everything else, the prejudice that we hear over the media is actually quite political. It's rooted politically, but unfortunately, politicians use religion as a cover-up because they know it's something that it's a very sensitive issue to each individual. Yeah, so they use it as a cover-up.
You know, and I think I mentioned to you at lunchtime, not so long ago, I had on my one of my shows a couple of years ago, I had an Israeli young man and I had a Palestinian young man, and on the same show, and during the show I kind of stopped in the middle of the show and I said, wait a minute, who's Israeli and who's Palestinian? They were both talking for one another, and they became friends through they came here and they got onto the show and they became friends because of my show. They are now good friends. And
I think that's one of the things we learned from this program is that the women not only learn a lot about the United States and about Chicago especially, but also about each other and about what it's like to live in Yemen, what it's like to live in Lebanon, and how it compares and how it contrasts. And so they get to make friends among the region as well and have a strong network.
And even find similarities and differences between neighboring countries. Like my roommate is from Oman, and there were a lot of things that I didn't know about Oman, and she helped me in getting a better idea about what happens there. Same thing for Lebanon, same thing for Palestine and other countries. You tend to learn a lot once you're together and you're living together. It's amazing the things that you could learn.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you is that are your pursuits limited to, as far as professional? Are you treated in your profession, in your country, I mean, as a man, does he get the, if there's a raise to be given, is the man get the raise over you? Are you treated fairly? Are you treated like, are you put down as a second-class citizen because you are women? Or how does that work for you in your country?
I believe that what happens in our countries it happens everywhere, even in the U.S., where just as I was walking around here, I saw a note saying that women and men working in the same position, women get cents and the man would get $1 for the same position. It could be exactly the same thing. And actually, I've noticed in Yemen that a lot of companies have encouraged women to work more than men because they know that women are more responsible towards the job and more diligent in a way. And I'm sorry to say this, but that's what even my boss, because I had to go and ask him, why is that so, that you encourage more women? Because I was fascinated by it. And even me as a woman working, I thought that it would be the other way around. And then he told me it's because I've noticed that the Yemeni women, or women in general, are more diligent towards their job. So it's the same all over, and I think it's in most of the countries they're the same.
Do you feel that way too in both your countries? Are you? I mean, do you feel ever like a second-class citizen? Are you able to negotiate contracts, own property?
Oh yeah,
you can.
We can be entrepreneurs if you want. Like many law firms in Lebanon are established by women, and many banks, managers of banks, branches of banks are women, and then many employees in the banks are women. So when you see all this around you, you know that you also have the chance one day to run your own law firm, or maybe to establish your own business. So, and this any prejudice regarding women and salaries, as just Roa said. So it's everywhere, not only in our countries, it's also here.
Right.
I think we all as women suffer from the glass ceiling concept. It might be more evident in our countries than some other countries, but yes, I do believe it's everywhere. I personally did not suffer from it. I could not see it or observe it. I was never, in a period of 3 years, I was promoted within the organization 3 times, which I think is, quite impressive in a major bank. It depends on the organization you join. For example, the National Bank of Kuwait, where I used to work in, and I will go back to that, to my position over there, has heads of major banking groups, 3 women. The chief economist is a woman. The head of corporate banking is a woman. The head of international banking, I mean, this woman is responsible for expansions, takeovers in other countries. And so these are major positions.
And if I'm not mistaken, both Lebanon and Kuwait just voted women into the parliament.
Exactly.
So
hey, they're women as well. I think women are more advanced than we are, Peggy. I mean, in our country, we missed out on
We're all still working on it together.
Yeah, we missed out on having a women president.
We had a candidate. We had a woman who was a candidate running for presidency.
So you get. I don't know. How do you feel about the United States media portraying women from the Middle East? What is your concept and your feeling about that?
It's just that they don't show what should really be shown in ordinary circumstances. They just show what's going on and what the situation is when there's conflicts or wars or any sort of quarrels. But what they need to do more and to highlight more is what women do in Lebanon, what do they work, education they can have, opportunities they can have, and what good and excellent positions they handle. So, and maybe thanks to such programs organized by the Department of States here in the U.S., we can...
And Cahnmann's current event Roundtable. We're trying to get the women's issues out and portraying women in a different light.
Organizing all this. So thanks to all this, maybe we can give better idea of how women live in our countries.
I think the value of these programs through the International Visitor Center and others is that you're in the workplace in Baker McKenzie or in Shop Local and you're able to
explain,
go beyond the media image of women in the Middle East.
And
I think that's
it was an everyday challenge to erase the media.
And how do you, the international, how do they get people from different countries to come to the International Visitors Center?
Most of our visitors that come are sponsored by the U.S. Department of State. So this is a Middle East Partnership Initiative is a program of the Department of State, and we host other programs, International Visitor Leadership Program, and literally we had nearly 800 people from 126 countries last year come through Chicago, and I want to encourage your audience to look us up and get involved, because we have a lot of opportunities for you, Suzanne, and for all your colleagues to meet with women like this, to sit down and have dinner with them and really exchange ideas and really get to know what it's like to live around the world. And that's one of the best parts of our program.
Let me also add to this, like in our countries, we were kind of recruited by Ahmadist. It was also like IVC.
They're the organizer. They're the organizer of the program.
An agency of the U.S. Department of State, the Middle Eastern Partnership Initiative.
How did you get chosen, though? How did you get chosen?
It was amazing when we found out, when we got here and we landed in Washington, and then we were, we had a meeting at the Ahmadist head office, and then they told us that we were chosen, 22 women were chosen from 11 countries around the Middle East and North Africa, and we were actually chosen from 500 women. So it was a grueling competition, and it is titled, I was amazed because I did not know that. And I was taking, and it didn't really sink in until I was there, and they literally told us it was 500 women and maybe more.
They interviewed, they picked, they interviewed, and then they repicked.
Oh, I can understand how they chose you. Because I mean,
your
women are
ambassadors.
excellent.
We
tried.